just up your alley, Tom,
Are we set?
the request.
Are we organized?
Oh,
It's 6:30. I'd like to call the Finance Committee meeting for May 30th to order. We have a simple agenda this evening, basically to discuss a request for a transfer from the reserve fund. Mr. Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. My apologies on two things. One, this came up just before town meeting started, so I was hoping that town meeting would go for a third night and you guys could consider it then, but it didn't. So we had to submit it later. A little bit of miscommunication, I guess, where we had sent the material to Jack and we didn't get it on, so I appreciate you considering it tonight. Also, Carol Coppola was going to join me, but she's a little under the weather, so she couldn't make it. So you have me flying solo tonight. I am familiar with this project. The Harwich Mariners came to me and met with me, the officials from there, and said that last year during the season that there's 4 light stanchions that have several lights on it to illuminate the field at night. And at the end of the season last year, they had some issues where one row of lights, Tom probably knows this better than I because he's more of an electrician, but one row of lights went out. They hired a company to come in and look at it. They were able to get it to work. And then just before the playoffs, a different bank of lights on a different pole went out. So they expressed concern to me that we should probably have it looked at so we could try to have a clean season for this year. So in order to engage the services of a company to come out and look at this work and do this work for us, this investigation work, it's roughly $18,000 to have them come out and do some assessment work. The funding that's available in recreation is down to $3,600, so they literally would not come out because there's insufficient funds to come out. Actually, he has here broken out $13,538 to have 4 days of troubleshooting, including the bucket truck. Obviously, these lights are very high, so in order to access them, you need the bucket truck. And then the remaining $6,462 would be used for any repairs to lamps, ballasts, fuses, and wires. So we're trying to get this work done in a timely fashion so we can have the Harwich Mariners have a season where they can play at night in a safe environment without losing it. We do have, just for additional observations, we have had a discussion with the Harwich Mariners and Recreation. I believe Harwich Mariners met with the Recreation Commission not too long ago, and they're going to try to do an overall concept of how do we improve that field, and redoing the lights in total would probably be about $400,000. So this is really money that would keep us going for this season, and hopefully in the investigation they can give us some window into that. And if we're able to do a repair that will last longer, then when they do the master plan for doing improvements throughout the facility and replacing the lights, we can stretch that out over a little bit of a period of time. So the investigation will really lead us to whether the lights need to be replaced sooner in that master plan or later in the master plan.
So in essence, you're requesting $20,000. What we have left is a current balance is $32,160.
Correct.
And it's also now June, so we're coming close to the end of the year. Anyone have any questions or comments?
is there a breakdown on this cost?
Because it's an investigation, I think what he has here, it's the cost of 2 technicians, 2 specialized electricians, and a bucket truck for 4 days of troubleshooting and repairs. So the estimated cost is $13,000.
See that, but it's, do we have a breakout as far as what he's charging for the bucket truck versus what he's charging for the electrician?
They did not provide that with me. Sean Libby was overseeing this for me.
Because normally if you get a submission like this, normally the electrician would give you X amount per hour for his workman plus a daily rental for the bucket truck.
Okay.
So is there any way we could possibly see a breakout of this?
I'm probably not going to be able to get it, in the next few minutes.
Okay.
I can follow up, though. I'm happy to follow up if ask Sean for the additional details.
Yeah, because it's,
Oh.
And looking at current costs, I could get close.
Yeah, the email I have, he doesn't have the detail on the cost of the bucket truck and the two people. That's the lump sum. He has the lamps are $82.50 each, the ballast $289, fuses $13.30, and the drop wire is $388 a foot.
Okay.
But he didn't give me a breakdown on that. I'm happy to follow up, though.
I would like to see a cost on his labor as well as what he's charging for a daily rental of the bucket truck.
I got a few questions. So this was, the outages or the problems was discovered last August,
Yes.
and it's obviously end of May now, that's 10 months. Why wasn't this addressed, that's one question, why wasn't this addressed in September, knowing we have a whole 10 months to fix it? Now we're up against the wall. You know, I don't see how we can almost not vote for this. I mean, you got the baseball, draws people,
Right.
everything. So why wasn't it addressed in September? That's my first question.
Yeah, you know, I'm a little disappointed myself. The Harwich Mariners came to me literally a week before town meeting and said, we have an issue with the lights. I said, what are you talking about? And then I found out, so it wasn't relayed to me until really in May, just before town meeting started. I don't know why Eric Beebe in the Recreation, why they didn't feel the need to do this sooner. So I don't have a great answer for you. A little disappointed, like I said, that Harwich Mariners came to me and said they were concerned that maybe Eric thought that the light fix that they did last season was sufficient, but where they lost it right at the end of the season, they should have done an additional investigation. So my apologies on the timing.
And is it more of just an investigation? I see you have 6,500 in there for repairs, but that's just a best guess estimate.
Just a best guess.
I mean, they lift that bucket up and they find all sorts of, it's, who knows, a Pandora's box, and you open it up. Tom would probably address it.
Yeah, what I kind of got from them is that the original wiring, generally a quality electrician will kind of label what the wires are, where they go, what banking they go to. None of that work was done. So the investigation needs to identify what the issue is. But like I said, the grand total of the cost is going to be closer to $400,000 to replace it. So this is really just intro money to just see what we can do in the investigation.
And it's your best guess that this is, 6,500 is going to take care of it too.
Yeah, I think
mean, that's an awful wishful thinking, I think, on my part, giving this. And then, are they checking all the banks of lights or just the ones that are out?
I believe they're going to check it's 4 different poles. Yeah, 4 different poles that have the banks on them. I think last year, when they had the investigation and they did make the repairs, it was about $13,000. So I think because they're doing the 4 poles, getting a better look at the overall system, that's why it's a little bit more expensive. But I think it was 2 days to make the repairs last time. And that was paid for out of the recreation account. We have money in there for banking.
And this is all prevailing wage, I'm
It will be prevailing wage, correct?
And, okay, like I say, I don't see how we have a choice not to vote for this. But I don't like the 10-month delay, personally. And so I just want that to be known. And just on a side discussion, it has to do with lights. Brooks Park, over a year ago, town meeting approved $450,000 to repair those lights. My understanding that an RFP has not even gone out yet for those lights. Is that correct?
The RFP is in the process of being developed. It has been delayed. It's not for replacement, it's actually to put new lights into
Right,
that
well,
area.
Yeah.
But losing the town engineer, we just recently replaced, so we are behind. We have a lot of projects that we're catching up on. That is one of the projects, and we are trying to move forward with it.
Because I'm afraid there that, like we ran into other projects, we vote for these things at town meeting, the townspeople vote for them, does not get implemented. When it finally gets implemented, guess what? It's more than the $450,000. It's just poor, I think, management of these capital projects. And that was spoken at town meeting on, and this is a good example of it. I'm not going to get into the bathroom at Brooks Park either. I understand there's a huge uproar on that thing, too. But That's my opinion. I don't see how we can not vote for this personally.
Next.
In terms of replacing the lights, any thought being given to applying for community preservation funds?
I think what the plan is that we will, when we do the master plan, to do the full replacement, then yes, it will be, community preservation funds will be sought.
Okay. And the reserve fund balance noted there, is that the undesignated reserve fund balance?
Correct.
Okay.
Dana, do you have any comments?
No, not on this. I mean, it's your call.
One more, just again, just to agree with John. It's almost like they're holding a gun to our head, because this could have been settled a long time ago, and now, as John just mentioned, it's baseball season. We need the revenue. People come to watch the teams. It's a big draw for the entire Cape. So we really, our hands are tied, which is not in a good position for us to be put in.
Yeah, I wanted to have Eric Beebe come tonight. I mean, he's the one that really oversees the site for me, and he was unavailable to attend, so I'm just telling you what was relayed to me was, and I think Mariners came to me because they weren't getting the satisfaction from Recreation. But why they waited so long to come to me to try to get it addressed, I can't really speak to.
I mean, price-wise, I could just prevailing wage going on. I'm coming up with $5,200 in labor, probably a couple thousand, $8,000 for the bucket truck for the 4-day rental, so I'm coming up with $13,000. So, okay, the price seems in the ballpark, to give the fun, but just this last minute is not,
Okay.
No, I appreciate the sentiment, I really do, and I will have a further discussion with Eric.
I agree with the fact that we have to go forward with this, but I think we should do something else. I think next year, or starting soon, we should arrange how we do our financial planning and say to the rec department, everything you want to do, you better have into the finance department and the town administrator by such and such a date. And if you don't have it, you don't have it. I think the people at town meeting were relatively clear about wanting the funds to have been looked at, everything examined, et cetera, and I don't think we're going to have it for several years, but that they would be just throwing a yes answer. I think we are trapped. I think we have to do this. I don't really like to do it at all. I mean, I would like to take it out of the funds in the rec department that are coming up for next year and putting it into our thing that we have. And that being the case, I even think it's a better idea because it may encourage the rec department to do it in an appropriate way. Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the transfer.
A second?
A second?
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Is that is the last? What?
I had John, but it could have gone the other way. Dan made the motion and John made the second.
So that is it? That's
That was all
you
I
need?
have.
Okay.
I probably should, in terms of the closing out of the materials, there may be one additional reserve fund request that would be coming from DPW, just in terms of he's really tight because of the materials. I'm hoping that it would be probably about $5,000, but as we get the details, we will come back. But I anticipate that we'll probably have that closer to the end of the fiscal year. So if there's another meeting at the middle of June or end of June, we'll have that.
Okay, thank you. Any other things you need from us?
That's all I have this evening. And thank you so much for your, I appreciate very much that you met in a timely fashion so we can get the crews out there.
Do you want me to sign this and give it to you? So you...
That would be awesome, yeah. And get it underway.
Dana, I saw you wanting to speak, but I was just trying to get this.
I just wanted to comment on your agenda as a summer schedule. I'm only speaking because Jack called me to ask as a courtesy to post this meeting, which I did for you guys. And he, in that time, talked to me about the summer schedule. He would like to continue the monthly meetings rather than take the month of June off, and it already sounds like you might have something to do. So that's, I'm just bringing it up for him. You can decide to do what you want, but he will probably be asking you to post in June and in July instead of taking it on.
I think it's an excellent thing to do because I think we have to change the way we do the financial planning.
Yeah.
And I think we have to change the way the information that gets given to the town. Because the town is obvious, don't really understand the whole background of the financial operation. They're not giving money to Waterways. Waterways is paying for themselves. They need to understand the revenue piece, the tax piece. So I think we have to do something there. And I think also that each of the departments have to know what their costs are. And I don't think they do, and they don't use that information a lot. So I think it's a great idea. Are you indicating that he wants to do it on the second Thursdays? Is that?
That's been
Like-
the traditional night, that's been the night
traditional
that
night?
everybody has been able to meet, so,
Yeah.
Second Thursday?
second Thursday.
Is that all right,
Can
Thursday?
I just comment on, I'd love to do it. I'm leaving June 7th through the 27th. You know, I purposely, believe it or not, didn't take any time away this January to town meeting because I missed last year's and I felt I didn't get what I was supposed to get. But this year I didn't take any time off, but I will be taking that time off. So we go ahead and meet, but I'm all in favor of meeting monthly.
So that would be June 13th.
Correct.
Well, we'll have
Unless he changes it.
Yeah,
yeah.
if you have it after the 27th.
We also have a problem where we're going to be probably short an appropriate number of people, because I know that Michael Ford has 2 appointments to make of people who have left and 2 of people whose year ends in 30 days. So,
On that, I have spoken to Michael, and he said he would reappoint me to that, for one of those, my term is up this year.
so we may have if you're not here, we may be short of people.
Jack was just out this week, so he should be back.
Okay, any other comments anybody wants to make?
Just one other comment. I think, Angela, when I first came, you were the chair, and after town meeting, we did kind of a town meeting wrap-up, and we wanted to solicit information about how can we do town meeting better and different suggestions. We haven't done it really since then, but I may make an invite to folks and just additional information that people would like to see available. Obviously, we have some ideas based upon some of the comments that we got, but I'd love to get a cross-section. So if you want to stop in, or if we have a formal meeting, I'll probably invite Jack or you as the vice chair, just to meet with the moderator and see if there's ways to get additional information. Like one example is we'll probably put the debt schedule in there, the full debt schedule. I mean, someone asking me every single debt we probably have 30 borrowings over 20 years, and I couldn't recite that off the top of my head. So we'd put that in the schedule. We have it available, we just need to put it in the schedule. But I think if people had information like that, other examples of things that would be helpful, we certainly want to do that.
We have to be transparent. It's very clear.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
What I was thinking is, if this group met once or twice and thought of various things, then we can meet with you
Yeah.
and have a conversation on, we want to do this, or we want to do that, or can we do this? And then we can have whatever meeting you want to have.
Okay.
Would that make
But I
sense?
if people would think about, how can we constructively make town meeting a little bit more efficient, obviously, that's always what we're
And if
after.
you could send to Jack things like your comment about the debt service,
We'll put the debt
and
schedule.
other things that you think are off the top of your head right now, just to help us start thinking would be
Yeah,
great.
the other one that a gentleman had raised an issue about why was one of the numbers on local receipts. I mean, we didn't put local receipts in there because literally it's probably 4 pages of specific detail, but we could certainly put subsections in there and keep it to 1 page of what local receipts are, so people get a better sense instead of just having one number, lump sum number in there. There's things like that. I mean, we have the information. We just try not to overload necessarily, 'cause I get some criticism about too much information on like the capital plan and the material that we have in there. So, but I think obviously, this town meeting was obvious that people wanted more information, so.
Yeah, I would think that if we could give them a sources and uses document so that they would know what every one of the departments was generating and-
Yep.
and whatnot, that would be complicated unless you were interested. And I think people at that meeting were very interested, so I think they do
Yes.
it. Dana,
Just one thing I've seen in my past experiences, several towns out there do a financial document that accompanies the town meeting warrant. It's an additional document produced by the Finance Committee that has these types of things in it. And if you'd like, I'll just get some copies for the committee to look at of different towns that do this. And you might be able to cherry pick some ideas from those as to maybe, besides a warrant, there's an additional document that's there for information like that for people who have those questions. They can look it up themselves instead of asking at the floor.
Because just to that point, I've actually got some feedback that Chatham redid. They've done some additional work on their finances, so they have additional finance documents. And then Orleans, I've heard, is pretty good. So I was going to explore those two, but maybe.
Arlington has a good one, Rentham has a good
This-
one. I'll get some copies.
this group met with Chatham, and yes, they're into the numbers. They understand exactly what's going on. I think they have a good set of information. Annie, sorry.
Just a quick question, more historical for my information. Have we looked into electronic voting at town meetings, and what was the general consensus of that in the past? Because it looks like it could not only speed up town meeting, but give a very accurate count. Because that line item, that article that lost by one vote, I've had more people come to me saying when the clickers went down, the guy was looking up in the sky, pushing the button, he wasn't clicking, and they thought, honestly. And we lost by one vote, didn't do a recount, which I thought was highly unusual, but that's the moderator's privilege, I guess, because it was so close. So have we looked into electronic voting and what's the feeling in the past been like? I know the cost is relatively high.
To you, Mr. Chairman, I did look into it just because a couple of people had brought it up. There are specific costs. It's about, for our town, for our size, to run a 2 or 3 day town meeting would be about $25,000 to have the equipment. The first time would be that much, and then it would be less than that for each town meeting after that. But it's just a matter of throwing money. It's something that can be set up and done fairly quickly. It's something that a group that does this, companies do this. I spoke to 2 different ones. And one was really good and responsive, but that's about the number you're looking at for Harwich as a first year cost would be about $25,000.
I think the town clerk in Eastham uses the clickers, and the one feedback that they get is they try to anticipate the number of people that show up. They have an open town meeting. So if you rent 500 clickers and you get 600 people show up, now you go back to you still pay the cost, because obviously they provided the clickers, but then, you have to go back to the old system if you get more people than you anticipate. So it would be a little bit of a art form to go in and just make sure we try to guesstimate how many people are gonna show up in those costs, obviously.
That's why
The number of clickers drive
To
the
me,
cost.
one company was better than the other, because they allow up to 1,000 the first meeting.
It strikes me that spending $25,000 on getting the numbers correct when we're dealing with $60, $70 million is probably a good thought. Because, if you look at that one vote, how it might have gone.
Just one comment on that. The tellers do take an oath up front to do a good job on that. And I think Michael would support the idea that they do a good job. Just in their defense. They take an oath.
I
and they go
didn't
out
see
there
him do anything, but this is people said to me, and why?
Comments are one thing,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's going against people who took an oath
Oh,
to do
sure.
this and volunteered to do this.
Any other I'm sorry.
That's all I have.
Any other comments? How about a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, we adjourn?
Are we meeting on June 13th?
We don't know yet.
Oh, we don't, okay.
I think we
We're gonna check
might,
with-
I think we're going to want to. Well, we'll check with
But,
Jack.
yeah, okay. All right.
Okay.
If you figure it out, I'll help you post it and all that kind of stuff. I have talked to the town administrator about the possibility of being the board secretary for future meetings.
Are people comfortable with that? I think
I
it's a
second
good idea.
I second it.
Oh, yeah,
It's a great
sure.
idea.
So we may do the paperwork and you may be
Well,
talking to your new secretary.
yeah, not just for the function of the secretary, but the institutional benefit this guy cares
Yeah.
about.
Right.
I think we need a vote to close the meeting. Did everybody say yes?
Yes.
Okay.
100%. Can I vote
Thank
twice?
you.
I abstain.
You know,
I like
To
it here.
stay,
You gonna push the button on that, please?
yeah,
Or do something?
just push stop recording.
Top right.